no matter what you're putting together, food and wine, cigars and spirits, those things should work in harmony. The interesting thing about Maker's Mark, and the reason why I like to use it with cigars, because it's not too thin of a finish, but it's not over aggressive as a finish. So I don't think it will overpower any cigar that's medium bodied and beyond, going into even to a full body cigar. So today we're starting our pairing with the La Roma de Cuba by Ashton Cigars. It's handcrafted in Nicaragua by the Garcia family. It has rich Nicaraguan filler and binder. The wrapper on the cigar is Connecticut broadleaf, which has an inherent kind of like sweet note to it in broadleaf. In the filler, I'm getting notes of black pepper. I get some whispers of brown sugar. There's a cedary note to it, and I also get a good sweet earthiness to it. So again, harmony. I consider this a medium-bodied cigar. And as we covered earlier, I think bourbons, in particular with pairings, I think it starts with a medium-bodied cigar, kind of goes from there. And with the Maker's Mark bourbon, I think it really complements it. I taste some spice with the Maker's Mark, but I taste that toffee and that vanilla, that sweet note too. So they really complement each other. They flow back and forth really well in the palate. I think it plays really well with the Maker's Mark bourbon. Another cigar that I think would pair extremely well with the Maker's Mark bourbon is the Hemingway series by Fuente. Cameroon wrapper, authentic Cameroon wrapper, Dominican filler, Dominican binder. The reason why I thought that it would play extremely well and work really well with the Maker's Mark bourbon is because Cameroon has a woody sweetness to it. And I think that the Maker's Mark also has that woody sweetness to it, meaning that I taste toffee, vanilla in Maker's Mark, which gives it that sweet note, but I also taste the barrel, the wood. And with the cigars, it's a nice marriage, a nice pairing, because they complement each other extremely well. So another cigar that we chose for the pairing is the My Father Les Bijoux. I get like hickory notes from it, but there's a spice in that cigar that will get your attention. There's definitely a decent dose of Ligero in there. To me, it's definitely medium to full bodied. And I think it stretches the Maker's Mark to its limit, meaning that if you said it to me on paper that I try this, I would probably say, I don't know, I'd probably need something bigger from a bourbon to go along with this Les Bijoux by My Father. But when we put them together and we try them, we realized that it really does work. It just shows you the fun, that you could have with playing with pairings, right? Another cigar that I think would pair extremely well with the Maker's Mark bourbon is the 1964 Anniversary series by Padron. Padron Anniversary 1964 is a Nicaraguan Puro. Puro meaning wrapper, filler, binder, all from the same country. So all Nicaraguan tobacco. I've been in the cigar business for over 20 years, and that's one of my first loves when it comes to cigars. I think it marries really well with the Maker's Mark bourbon. We wanted to do something that was a Nicaraguan Puro, and I think the tasting notes of the Padron, the chocolate notes, the cocoa notes, the subtle spice, goes extremely well with the Maker's Mark. It's like if you ask me independently, describe this bourbon to me and describe the cigar to me, you could kind of flip-flop them, I would almost describe it the same way. Very approachable, not overly aggressive, not hot, but also rich and rounded. So there's a lot of premium cigars that would pair extremely well with the Maker's Mark bourbon. The last one we're going to talk about is the Ashton Age Maduro. So the Ashton Age Maduro, component-wise, it's expertly made by the Fuente family in the Dominican Republic. The Ashton Age Maduro has Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Dominican filler, Dominican binder. Aesthetically, it's a very dark broadleaf wrapper. So the novice usually will steer away from that cigar because it's almost black in color. Again, wrapper dominates flavor. And Maduro just means ripe, Spanish. You can't help but taste those sweet notes in that broadleaf. I put that cigar straight medium, but I get flavors of molasses. Again, like a sugary kind of like, almost like a ripe fruit. But the filler itself is just straight medium. Wonderful flavors, complex cigar. And with this Maker's Mark bourbon, I wanted to see how it would play with those toffee vanilla flavors and see if it wasn't too much for that cigar. Because again, I think it's straight medium. And when we did that, when we tasted them together, again, it was another cigar that I realized this Maker's Mark would pair extremely well with. Because again, you have that sweetness and you get the big flavors of that bourbon. A lot of times with the Ashen Aged Maduro, I might sometimes choose a rum to complement it. But there's notes of this Maker's Mark that are rum-like in essence, where you get that vanilla and toffee notes. So I think that's why it plays extremely well with the Ashen Aged Maduro. All right, well, hopefully you had as much fun as I did pairing these cigars with this Maker's Mark bourbon. Make sure you don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.